He is 17-year vet in the National Football League and a good friend of the program, Matthew Hasselbeck. How are you, Matthew?
What's up? 18 years, Rich. Don't forget that year on the practice squad blocking Reggie White playing scout team tight end in Green Bay.
Was that
year, buddy?
That was when you would get Favre's fan mail in your locker, right, Matthew?
Just one piece. But yes, I did. You know, I was not getting my own fan mail. I was getting fan mail for star players, and fans would say, "Hey, don't need your autograph, but you can get this Brett Favre football card autograph for me and send it back."
I get that all the time. On Thursday night, I'm sitting there on the set, and people are screaming, "Rich, Rich, Rich!" And I look up at them. They're like, "Can you have Michael sign this for me?" I get that. I get that.
It's okay, man. Team player. You're a team player.
I know. Even though there's an I in Rich and Eisen. How you been? You're good? Everything good?
Doing
Family
well.
Good? Life's good?
Doing great. Very busy, exciting NFL season. A lot of injuries, a lot of new faces, a lot of stars being born, people I've never heard of coming out and having great games. And, also with Monday Night Football, just trying to, predict how each team will play in these primetime matchups. Some people handle it really well. Other people, for example, the Miami Dolphins, they haven't handled it well. They're just getting blown out on their primetime games. And, someone like Cam Newton in Carolina, they seem to thrive on the attention and the energy. So it's been fun. Definitely fun.
Before we get to tonight's game, though, I mean, as I started the show by saying to NFC fans that 2016 is not walking through that door, to use the Patino Boston lexicon, and that the Eagles and Vikings and Saints and Rams are for real. But in the AFC, there's Brady again. I'm wondering, again, for somebody who has played football at that position into his 40s, what is it like watching Brady do what he's doing at age 40, Matthew?
The game, I would say this, for a lot of football players, at every position, your body slows down on you. And, as you get older, you get slower. The quarterback position is a little bit different in that, your body might be getting slower, but the game's also slowing down for you. And that's what I see in Tom Brady. He's never been a guy that's necessarily relied on his running ability or, those types of things. And his arm's always been good enough and continues to be strong. I think probably the way he's taking care of himself. But he just seems like a guy that's seeing everything in slow motion. And just his command of the huddle. I mean, we use the term game manager as like a very negative connotation towards quarterbacks sometimes, but this guy is in complete control, managing every little facet that goes on in the game. And when you look at the last two games the Patriots have played, he has absolutely killed people by throwing to the running backs. And that's it. He's throwing the ball more downfield than he ever has. He's got more speed outside than he ever has. And these guys are running off. He's cocked and loaded, ready to chuck it deep. And they got to honor it. And then what's he do? He checks it down to the running back and, he quick counts them in the red zone. I mean, everything is just really fun to watch.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't miss a beat. He's like a cyborg when it comes to that. That's Belichick too, though. He's a perfect any weakness that is shown either on film in the eye in the sky that they can find and exploit all week long and then execute in real time, they will do it. And they're spectacular at it. And the thing that I also noticed, too, is, more than ever, because he's done this before, he seems to put the ball, Brady, in the exact spot that will draw a flag as well. He knows exactly where to put it, Matthew.
Well, they coach everything, and living in Boston now, I've got even more respect for how they do things. They work hard. I'm interested to see how they do this week, though. They played in the altitude late last night in Denver. They're going up about 2,000 feet in elevation. They're spending the week at Colorado Springs, and then they're flying to Mexico City. And having been there last year for that Mexico City game last year, that's like more than 2,000 feet higher than it is in Denver. So, I don't know what kind of toll that'll take on their bodies and the training of it, but it's not your average, normal week for these guys. For a team that's one game at a time mentality, this is a team that in the past, few days, they've been talking about 2 games at a time. It's kind of new territory for them and how they train. I know how I feel after, 2 weeks on the road. I usually don't feel that good. I like to be in my own bed, but so you got that going into it. They're practicing at a college, and they're, dealing with altitude at the same time.
Matthew Hasselbeck calling in from the side of Monday Night Football, where he'll be on the field in B of A Stadium between the Panthers and the Dolphins right here on the Rich Eisen Show. what the Saints have done is truly unbelievable, right, Matthew? I mean, that they're just a running and defensive machine, and Breeze is just the orchestrator of it all. And then you see what Keenum's doing in Minnesota. Which to you do you think of all these teams that are in first place have the best opportunity in the NFC to go long here?
Well, I mean, you got four good ones there. You know, you got the two you mentioned. You got Philly and you got the LA Rams also, who are playing lights out right now. But if you look at just the Minnesota Vikings, you know, they've had to overcome losing their starting quarterback and losing their starting tailback, and they've done a tremendous job with it. But sometimes, you know, you get banged up like that, one injury might be too many. And I look at it on the flip side in the New Orleans Saints, and you know, they've been far more lucky in terms of the injury side of it. And, oh, by the way, you've got Drew Brees, you know, carrying the load at the quarterback position. So, you know, for me, if it's a tie, I'm going to go with Drew Brees, future Hall of Famer, the guy that can just get it done. And here's the best thing about the way that they're winning right now. They're not asking Drew Brees to be the guy to do it. You know, they're throwing the ball maybe like 31 times a game and getting these wins. Started out 0-2, they won 7 in a row, and they're running the ball like you can't believe. The difference maker to me, obviously their defense and special teams are playing great, but Alvin Kamara, the backup running back, he's playing that Reggie Bush role, that Darren Sproles role, that, you know, what they hoped C.J. Spiller would be. Having him as a wide receiver running back, like kind of a running back running wide receiver routes out of the backfield, he's uncoverable by a linebacker, in my opinion. And so you give that to Drew Brees and Sean Payton, that kind of a weapon like they had in Reggie Bush once upon a time, they're just going to be really, really hard to beat.
Well, for somebody who's seen as much film as you have, has studied collegiately, professionally, and now as a broadcaster, Matthew, and just knowing how plays are pretty much the same in many places, and it's just about execution and when you bust it out, what Sean McVay has drawn up here in Los Angeles, and just give voice to just how unique a situation it is to see somebody not only come up with these plays, but be able to, in real time, in just one half a season, transform a quarterback, an entire team in L.A.
Well, I mean, obviously Sean McVay has done an amazing job, and I think the talent was there last year. There was probably just way too much dysfunction there in L.A. last year. I mean, even Case Keenum was the starting quarterback. And everyone's like, Case Keenum can't play. You got to get Goff on the field. Case Keenum's doing great this year. And guess what? Jared Goff's doing great this year. So, I mean, that was not the problem. I think coaching and dysfunction was the problem there last year. And maybe the transition. Maybe it was hard to move, new home, new stadium, all that stuff. But I love what Sean McVay has done. He hired Wade Phillips. He said, Wade, you take care of the defense. You know more than I do about defense. You got the defense. He's got Jim Fossil's son, running special teams, very, very well-respected special teams coach. And he got hired. He comes in and goes, all right, listen, I got hired for one thing, to get Jared Goff going and to get Todd Gurley going. And the front office has helped him out. They went out and got some pieces. But at the end of the day, his job is to get Jared Goff going. And I just love watching what they do on film. It's not so much the plays that they do. It's the teaching and the mindset and the confidence that he's given this young quarterback. You know, he's saying to Jared Goff, listen, I will never, ever critique you for getting a completion. I will never say, oh, why'd you throw to the short guy? You had the deep guy. You just get completions. I'll worry about conversions. I'll worry about third down conversions. And what do you see? You see a guy throwing for over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns just about every week. So I really love the confidence that he's given Jared Goff. Obviously, the tools are there, but sometimes as a quarterback, you need someone in your corner that is part cheerleader, part coach, part like, hey, you know what? I don't know what to do in this situation, but I know what my guy would say. What would my guy say? My guy would say, completion. Get me a completion. I will celebrate a third down completion and then a punt. That's okay. You know, and it's that kind of mindset that I see Jared Goff playing with so much more confidence than he did last year.
Ask Matthew Hasselbeck the poll question, long-lost Hasselbeck brother, Chris Brockman.
Hey, Matt, which 5-4 team in the NFC most likely to make the playoffs? Cowboys, Falcons, Lions, Packers, or none of the above?
Okay, would you say Cowboys, Lions,
Falcons,
Packers?
Falcons,
Yeah,
or none?
I'm going to go, there's only one there. It's the Falcons, and here's why. They have only played one division game, which is unheard of. They were the last team to play a division game. And so that means that they've got the destiny's kind of in front of them. It's in their hands, so to speak, if they don't screw it up here at the end. But they're the team that I think could wake up. Everyone says they got the Super Bowl hangover. No doubt. That's 100% what it is. They are hungover. They probably were drunk still at the beginning of the season, but they got the Super Bowl hangover. That once they get over that, I think they'll be a dangerous team. The problem is, in the meantime, the Saints are 2-0 in the division and running away with it. But I think the Atlanta Falcons would be my choice.
And then you got that team tonight that you got there right in front of you. Before I let you go, Matthew, I'm sure you and Randy and Charles and the crew and Steve Young are going to have a nice discussion on Cam Newton and his maturation process and his press conferences. By the way, his 2 press conferences that drew the most ire from so many people. He had his best games in the following week. As you say, they like to perform in the spotlight. I mean, what's your 2 cents on Cam now, 5 years into his career and his readiness to take this team places?
Yeah, well, Cam off the field in the locker room and at the podium, very disappointing. I would give him a D-. Cam on the field, very impressive. He's kind of abandoned that whole idea of like, hey, I got to throw the ball first and then run the ball second. He's running the ball. I mean, he's got at least 9 carries in every game this month, which has only been done 2 other times, I think, in like recent modern history, and that was Michael Vick and Tim Tebow. I mean, this guy is running the football. He's running the football and then sliding, but quarterback lead draw, read option, zone read, all these typical like college type offense stuff that you saw him do at Auburn. He's doing it again. He's doing it with Christian McCaffrey as the lead blocker. And he's saying, hey, this stadium, this team feeds off my infectious energy. That could be positive. That could also be negative. When he's running the football, it's been very, very positive. So they're running the ball great. He's the leading rusher on the team each and every week. They're killing it in time of possession, which is really helpful for their defense, who's number 1 in the league in yards allowed. So I think Cam will play well this year. I think he'll have a good season. I think he's got his team in position to be relevant in February. But at the same time, it's going to look different. It's not going to be Cam throwing it up to Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen, who obviously is still hurt. But it's going to be Cam running the ball and just kind of imposing his will, saying, okay, you DBs, I'm going to make you try to tackle me.
Take care of yourself, Matthew. Don't be a stranger. Love chatting with you. Best to your awesome family. Okay?
Yes, well, you too. Chris, I'll say hi to Mom and Dad for you.
Thanks, buddy.
Say hi to your mother for me. It's Matthew Hasselbeck.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.